Most men think walking away is a tactic. They think it's a move to trigger fear. They think it's a way to regain leverage. That's why most men fail when they try it, because they don't walk away from strength, they walk away from emotion. They leave when they feel hurt, they leave when they feel ignored, they leave hoping their absence will force a reaction. And the moment walking away depends on her response, it stops being power. Marcus Aurelius warned about this exact mistake. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Walking away is not about controlling what she feels. It's about refusing to let her behavior control you. Most men misunderstand this. They think walking away means silence. But silence without self-mastery is just suppressed emotion. It's not calm, it's not grounded, and it doesn't last. A Stoic man doesn't leave to punish, he doesn't leave to provoke, and he doesn't leave to win her back. He leaves because staying would require him to abandon his own frame. The moment you stay where you no longer respect yourself, you are no longer choosing, you are reacting. And reaction is the opposite of power. This video is about that difference, not between staying and leaving, but between reacting and commanding yourself. Because walking away only changes the dynamic when it comes from self-mastery. And that brings us to the first psychological shift: reaction versus self-mastery. Let's begin.
Psychology shift number 1: reaction versus self-mastery. Most men don't walk away because they're strong. They walk away because they're overwhelmed. They feel ignored. They feel disrespected. They feel the pressure building, and leaving becomes an emotional release. But that isn't self-control. That's avoidance. Epictetus put it plainly: if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. What he's pointing to is uncomfortable but essential. A man who reacts is always trying to protect his ego. A man who masters himself is willing to endure discomfort without acting on it. When a woman pulls away, tests boundaries, or shifts her behavior, most men interpret it as a signal they must respond to. Text more, explain more, or disappear in anger, hoping silence will apply pressure. Both responses come from the same place: the need to be validated. A Stoic man operates from a different center. He doesn't leave because her behavior upset him. He leaves because his own standards are no longer being met. That distinction matters. Reaction says, "What you did made me do this." Self-mastery says, "I decide what I participate in." One is emotional dependence, the other is sovereignty. This is why most men fail when they try to walk away. They're still emotionally tied to the outcome. They're watching their phone, counting days, waiting for the reaction. That isn't walking away. That's standing still while pretending not to care. A Stoic man doesn't leave to change her behavior. He leaves because staying would require him to betray himself. And when your actions are rooted in self-command rather than reaction, the dynamic shifts, not because you forced it, but because you're no longer available to be pulled. That loss of emotional leverage is subtle, but it's the foundation of everything that follows. Because once reaction is gone, validation becomes irrelevant. And that leads us to the second shift: the loss of validation. Psychology shift 2: the loss of validation. When a man walks away from reaction, the first thing that disappears is not attraction, it's validation. Most men don't realize how much of their identity is tied to being chosen, to being wanted, to being desired, not as a man, but as approval. Marcus Aurelius warned about this long ago. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Validation works the same way. Attention feels powerful not because it has value, but because men assign value to being seen. When you give constant attention, reassurance, and emotional energy, you are not just engaging with her, you are feeding a narrative where your worth depends on her response. And the moment that stops, something breaks. Not because she suddenly misses you, but because the emotional feedback loop is gone. Here's the Stoic mistake many men make. They believe walking away is about making her feel the loss. It's not. A Stoic man doesn't withdraw validation to create scarcity. He withdraws because he doesn't live on it. That difference is everything. When validation is no longer your fuel, you stop negotiating your value in silence or in words. You don't need to be chosen because you've already chosen your own standards. And this is what destabilizes the dynamic. Not punishment, not strategy, not manipulation, but the quiet realization that your attention was never guaranteed and was never free. Once validation disappears, control weakens, because control requires dependency, and dependency only exists when someone needs your reaction. When you no longer seek approval, you become unpredictable, not chaotic, but unanchored, and that is where control begins to crack. In the next shift, we'll talk about what happens when control breaks, and that version is far more compelling than the one who was always available.
Psychology shift number 3. When control breaks. Here's the moment most men misunderstand. Not when she texts again, not when she watches your stories, not when she says, "Hey stranger." The real shift happens before any of that. It happens the moment she realizes your silence is not a tactic, it's a state. Epictetus put it plainly. If you want to be invincible, make sure no one can compel you. Control never comes from force, it comes from predictability. As long as she knows you will react, reply, explain, reassure, chase, you remain controllable. That's why silence terrifies the ego. Because silence that comes from weakness still reacts. It waits, it hopes, it counts days. Stoic silence does none of that. It doesn't wait to be rewarded. It doesn't check for outcomes. It doesn't monitor her behavior for signals. It simply does not move. And this is where control collapses. Not because you disappeared, but because she can no longer pull you back into orbit. The tests begin. A like, a casual message, a soft re-entry. Not to reconnect, but to confirm dominance. She's not asking, "Do you care?" She's asking, "Do I still control the frame?" And the moment you don't respond, truly don't, something snaps internally. Because a man who cannot be pulled cannot be steered. Stoicism teaches that power is not action, but non-compulsion. You are no longer responding to stimuli. You are no longer reinforcing the loop. And when a loop breaks, the mind turns inward. That's when silence stops being neutral. It becomes a mirror. And what she sees next is not you, it's herself. Which leads to the most destabilizing phase of all, her inner collapse. Psychology shift number 4, her inner collapse. When control is gone, there is nowhere left to project. No texts to analyze, no reactions to provoke, no signals to decode. So the attention turns inward. This is the phase most men misunderstand, and often secretly enjoy. They think, I'm making her feel this. They think she's suffering because of me. That's ego talking. You didn't cause her collapse, you revealed it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." What collapses here is not attraction, it's identity. For a long time, her sense of value was externally reinforced. Attention, desire, pursuit. When that disappears, the mind has to answer a question it avoided for years. If I'm no longer being chosen, who am I? This is where self-doubt begins. She compares herself, not to other women, but to the version of herself that was once desired. She checks mirrors longer. She rereads old messages. She scans your life for evidence you've moved on. Not because she loves you, but because her self-image is cracking. Jealousy follows. Not the loud kind, the quiet, obsessive kind. Who's liking your posts? Who's close to you now? Who replaced the validation she lost? Stoicism teaches that suffering comes when the self depends on externals. And her suffering here is not about losing you, it's about losing the reflection she saw through you. You were never the source of her worth. You were the confirmation of it. And when confirmation disappears, the structure cannot hold. This is why men who chase feel powerful for a moment, but remain weak. And men who walk away feel invisible, yet become unforgettable. Because collapse does not produce clarity, it produces avoidance. And avoidance always seeks replacement. Which brings us to the next illusion, the rebound and illusion.
Psychology shift number 5. Rebound and illusion. When the inner collapse becomes unbearable, the mind looks for the fastest escape. Not healing, not reflection, replacement. This is where the rebound appears, not as desire, but as anesthesia. She doesn't choose him because he excites her. She chooses him because he doesn't threaten her ego. He texts fast, he reassures quickly. He fills the silence you refuse to fill. And to the outside world, it looks like she moved on. But Stoicism teaches us to judge not by appearances, but by causes. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." A rebound is not freedom, it is avoidance dressed as confidence. She tells herself a story. I upgraded. I'm happier now. I was never that into him anyway. But stories don't erase reality. They only delay it. Because the rebound man requires nothing. And what requires nothing creates no growth, no tension, no respect. He replaces pain with presence. But presence without challenge becomes invisible. That's why attraction fades, not suddenly, gradually. Boredom sets in, then irritation, then contempt, and eventually comparison returns, not upward, but backward. She doesn't miss you, she misses the version of herself that existed when she had to earn attention. This is where many men fail. They see the rebound and panic. They break silence, they try to re-enter the frame, and by doing so, they turn illusion into victory for her ego. A Stoic man does not compete with substitutes. He understands a simple law. Weak men replace attachment with people. Strong men replace attachment with order. You didn't walk away to be remembered. You walked away because disorder was no longer acceptable. And when a man chooses order over attachment, he becomes something dangerous, unreachable. Which brings us to the final truth.
Final reflection. The man who is willing to lose. Here's the truth most men never face. The man who is willing to lose is the only man who cannot be controlled. Not because he is cold, not because he is heartless, but because his center of gravity is inside himself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Walking away is not power because she reacts. Walking away is power because you no longer need a reaction. You don't chase, you don't prove, you don't explain. Not out of strategy, but out of self-respect. This is where most men misunderstand the lesson. They ask, how do I make her come back? That question already places her above you. The Stoic question is different. How do I return to myself? Because the moment you stop living to be chosen, you stop being available for manipulation. You don't disappear to create fear. You disappear because disorder no longer deserves access to you. And yes, sometimes she comes back. Sometimes she reaches out. Sometimes she regrets. But by then, it no longer matters, because the real victory was never her attention. It was your autonomy. It was the moment you realized that losing someone who doesn't respect you is not a loss at all. It is liberation. Thank you for watching Stoic Wisdom today. So, ask yourself this. Are you walking away to be remembered, or are you walking away because you finally chose yourself? If this message resonated, write this in the comments. I choose self-command. Subscribe if you want more Stoic clarity on power, discipline, and masculine self-mastery. This channel is not about chasing outcomes, It is about becoming the man who never needs to. Until next time, stay grounded, stay calm, stay stoic.